this is Shannon Tidwell with Products You Love Every Which Way for our February class. This month we're going to be focusing on punches. So I wanted to show you a few of the techniques that I used on the layouts that you'll see in the class seed and also on the PDF that you can download. The first one we're going to talk about is this one with the owl punch outs. This is something that I like to call reverse pop dotting. I don't know if it has an official name, but that's what I call it. Basically, I just use my punch around the edge and punch these owls out. And then on the back side of the layout, I put pop dots around the hole that I had punched and then cut a piece of pattern paper to cover up that hole. So the pattern paper then peeks through. I just leave it like this on the back and put it in my album, but if you want it to be finished off, you could then adhere another sheet of cardstock or pattern paper to cover up your work back here. Okay, so for today I just want to do a little card to demonstrate the same kind of idea. I'm going to use this butterfly punch too, so that a little bit different than the owl that I used. I am going to try to slide this just as far in as I can and try to get it pretty much centered, and then punching. So you'll see that this punch actually just leaves the outline hole, and then what it punches out has the nice detailing in it. So I want to use all of that. So I've punched a few more out of some scraps, out of craft paper scraps that we're going to use to embellish the card. Okay, so now we have the card with the hole punched in it, and we want to cover up that hole so that there is some pattern paper peeking through. So what I'm going to do is just work on the inside of the card, and I'm using these pop dots are actually by Martha Stewart. They're my favorite because they're really thick, as you can see, and they're also firm, so they don't squish down as much as some of the others. So I'm just going to use some of these little bitty ones and place them pretty close around the edge of the hole, so that way you get a good amount of dimension right up next to the hole. If you spread them out too much, then your pattern paper will flatten against the hole. So just put several on. That ought to do. Take the little tabs off. Okay. So now I'm going to cover the hole with a pattern paper. Probably I'll put the polka dots facing outwards. So I just cut this piece just the same length. You could cut a piece that would cover the whole inside of the card, but I just had this scrap, so I thought I would use it. So now if you look at the card, you can see this nice dimension right there. So I'm going to trim this down a little bit. It looks like it's a little bit long, sticking out. Okay. So you can, I'm probably going to add a pop dot here on this end just to help hold this little flap down. And one on this end. Just help secure it. Okay. So now when you close the card, it looks like this. So we want to embellish that a little bit. So I just punched out these other butterflies. And we'll just arrange them in a fun way. I think I'll just do it like that. Okay. And then put a little adhesive on these. Oops. then now we've got some room down here that we'll put the sentiment that we want to say on the card. Okay, so now on the inside of the card, I decided to go ahead and add, I had this other piece of scrap, and just add it like that on the other side so that it carries over on the inside. It is cut in the middle, but that way it keeps it from bubbling up funny since you have pop dots on this side. So I'm just going to add a little adhesive, line it up, and then I want to add this butterfly right here. Okay, so now it's ready for our sentiment and a little bit of writing there on the inside. Now I wanted to show you how I did this confetti around the edge of this layout. You can see there. And what I did is I used these punches, this is just a few of them, that I actually have had since I started scrapbooking and collected and have kept through the years just thinking that the kids would use them. But they're still fun to use on your projects. So I want to make a little card or tag real quick for you to show you some ideas. I actually used Mod Podge on this to help hold them down. So it's got a slight sheen to it because I had the glossy Mod Podge. I am going to make a little card, and I just found this scrap piece of paper that was almost used up, but plenty of paper left for these little tiny punches. So I thought I would make a little card and maybe put a pocket on it for a gift card, something like that, maybe go shopping kind of card. Okay, so you could sit and just glue all these on separately, but that's kind of a pain since they're so tiny. So I'm going to show you what I did. I just took a paintbrush and bottle of Mod Podge, and I just painted it on. You don't have to worry about being too neat or anything because it'll dry clear. So I kind of just worked in sections, and since I used double-sided paper, it doesn't matter how I drop these on. So I just kind of sprinkle them on. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry for just a minute, and then once it kind of is sticking a little better, then I will go around and paint another layer of Mod Podge over the whole thing and over the background too, so that it has the same finish. So we'll come back and do that in just a minute. Get on, and don't worry about how it's white, it'll dry clear. So just make sure to get it in around all the little punches so they don't come off. Get a good layer. And this will cause your paper to curl just a little bit because of the wetness, but once it's dry, completely dry, you could just put it between some books or something like that. Now we have our card, and it is completely dry. I had a few little shoes that were hanging off the side, so you can either leave those or just trim them off depending on if you're mailing it or what. But I'm going to go ahead and trim mine off just so it's got a clean edge. Okay, So then I thought I would use this pocket from KI Memories. It's a 3x3 pocket. It has the adhesive already on it, so you just peel that off, and it's a nice, really sticky. This is perfect size to put gift cards in or money in. And I'm going to just stick it down right there. That. And then to write on, since that's kind of dark, I thought I would use some of this tape. Like this. And maybe one more. Okay. I'll just wrap it around the back like that. Okay, and I'm going to write on it. I use a Sharpie because I like the way they write. Okay, so that's ready. Since it's a birthday card, I think I'll add a puffy. And these are the new puffies from KI. They should be in the store anytime. Probably by the time you see this video, they are in the store. But it has adhesive already on it. You just peel that piece of paper off, and they're really sticky. I'm going to put it right there. Perfect. Okay, and then that's got room for the money card or little cash, whatever. The third layout in the class from Products You Love Every Which Way this month is this one using the border punches. I'm not going to really demonstrate it, I'm just going to kind of talk about it. It's similar to how we did the border stickers last month and just layering them. Basically, I just chose pattern papers, just sat down on the ground and went through my stacks of paper and picked out papers that I thought brought out some nice colors from the picture. And then since I did a 2-page spread, just to kind of change things up a little bit, I was just wanting a different size. I cropped this picture a little bit, trimmed it, and then I figured out how many inches I needed my strips to be, and I cut my paper in strips to that length, sorry, and then punched them, and then pieced it together. And when I did it, I pieced it first just together on this side and adhered it down on this side so that the extra strips kind of hung off on the side. And then once I got everything how I wanted it in the right place, I made sure everything was adhered well together, and then I just trimmed it right off this side and attached it over here. Okay, so that way you don't have to try to match things up exactly. You can just do it once and cut it and then use that piece somewhere else. But I liked how it looked to split it between the pictures, and then you're not wasting, you know, your pattern paper underneath your picture. I mean, you could if you wanted, but either way will work. So, and then one of my favorite things to do is to use the border punches with the same color as the background. So since I cut these were 12 by 12 pieces, and I cut them down to 8.5 by 11, I had a lot of extra left over, and I used those scraps to punch these borders and added them on to the edges and then above the picture and the border accent here. So I like the way it looks because it gives it a little bit of depth, but without taking away from the design of your page, so your eyes aren't going away from your main focal point of your page, but it just adds a nice little extra touch that's easy to add. So anyway, so thank you very much for joining me for the Products You Love Every Which Way class. It's been a fun month so far, and I can't wait to see the layouts that you guys do with your punches. Thanks a lot. Bye.